Dust cascaded from the crumbling ceiling of the bunker, shaken by the relentless turmoil churning meters above. In the war room, surviving generals darted around a central data table, frantically coordinating a defense against the orbital bombardment with what little operational weaponry remained. Sector Absol reports mass casualties and only 20% combat effectiveness, a commander relayed, staggering as another impact rattled the structure. They have no fission weapons left and are down to just 2 interceptor batteries. Sectors Bon Porter and LWE are completely unresponsive, while most others have been wiped out or rendered combat ineffective. General Tulk never imagined such a scenario. Merely 2 days ago, before the catastrophic starfall, his species hadn't even truly believed in extraterrestrial life. Their fledgling ventures into colonizing their star system were supported by minimal naval power, designed only for anti-piracy operations. Yet now, extinction seemed inevitable. Cities lay flattened, and the surviving census hinted at an enemy landing force assembling across every sector. Planetary defenses were crumbling under unrelenting attacks. Amidst the chaos, Tulk watched his remaining generals and command staff scramble to issue orders, desperate attempts to hold the line. The few remaining observation posts scanned for vulnerabilities in the enemy's fleet or an escape route, though Tulk knew in his heart that none existed. Their adversaries were too advanced, too overwhelming. Then an idea struck him. Tulk accessed his console, uploading files of his people's history and culture, alongside an audio log he had recorded that very morning detailing the relentless assault. Turning toward the communication officer, he demanded, "Commander Prolin, report on any functional communication arrays we have left." Prolin glanced up from a cracked screen. "Sir, there's one operational array in Sector Rec, but the connection is unstable." "As long as we have contact, we have a chance," Tulk responded, his fur disheveled beneath his cap. "Transmit this data package to any available deep space probes or satellites." Prolin hesitated, examining the files. "Sir, why send this? There's nothing to gain." Another tremor shook the room. Tulk steadied himself on his chair. "If we are to perish, so be it. But I will not allow our knowledge and culture to vanish with us. At least this way someone will know we existed." Prolin, moved yet grim, initiated the transmission. "Data packages being sent," he confirmed, a tear sliding down his cheek. Tulk placed a firm hand on his shoulder. "Good work, soldier. Continue your duties and report back once the transfer is complete." As another violent impact rocked the bunker, Tulk called his rear generals to gather around the table. Dust fell from above as he leaned over, his voice heavy with fatigue. "Here's the situation: most sectors are unresponsive, and those we can contact are either decimated or trapped in their bunkers. Our weapons are failing. Our defenses are in ruins. I've sent our history and culture to deep space probes. They will bear witness to our existence, even if we do not survive." Standing tall, he addressed the group. "If you wish to spend your final days with your families, you have my leave. Your honor will remain intact. I, however, will stay. My duty is to defend our people, and I will fight with every breath left in me. If you choose to stay, I will welcome your counsel. If not, you are dismissed." The generals exchanged grim looks. One stepped forward. "Sir, as your comrades, it is our duty to see your orders fulfilled. We will stand with you." Tulk nodded solemnly. "Then it is decided. Return to your posts. We will reconvene every 2 hours or as needed. If we are to die, we will die with honor." The generals saluted in unison, a final act of solidarity, before returning to their stations. Tulk turned back to his command post, his resolve unshaken despite the overwhelming odds. The screen displayed a surface scarred by craters, remnants of relentless impacts. Distant shadows of the alien bombardment fleet hovered in the sky, occasionally lit by bursts of railgun fire. General Tulk's gaze lingered on the screens, his thoughts drifting to his family, likely in the capital when the stars fell. The grim reality weighed on him. Even if they had made it to a public bunker, survival amidst such total devastation was impossible. Dust and signal interference obscured the capital's view, offering only fleeting glimpses of the city's complete destruction. The largest metropolis on the planet was now a wasteland. Tolk's reflection was interrupted by Commander Prolin, who approached with urgency. "Sir, what should I do?" the commander asked, almost frantic. Tolk blinked, shaken from his thoughts. "I'm sorry, Commander, what did you say?" Prolin, nervous and confused, elaborated. "Sir, our probes are picking up an unusual transmission. Someone or something is trying to contact us via visual channels. The data format is unlike anything I've seen. I think it's alien, but not from the fleet attacking us." Tolk's ears perked up in confusion, but he quickly gathered his thoughts. "Understood. Route the transmission to the briefing room." Prolin nodded and hurried back to his station. In the briefing room, the main screen glowed with a standby message awaiting Tolk's confirmation. Hesitating briefly, he accepted the hail. On the screen appeared a strange, hairless creature dressed in what was unmistakably a military uniform. It spoke in broken Common. "Hello, this is Captain Greville of the United Terran battleship Providence. Hold on, Nandar shall not fall." Captain Greville examined Tolk's weary figure on the screen, noting the strain and desperation barely concealed behind the general's stoic demeanor. He addressed Tolk firmly. "General, we have a plan, a long shot, but it's your best chance for survival. We're deploying our ships to the surface to rescue survivors. We've identified the largest concentration of survivors on Tuluk. If possible, I need you to send the coordinates of survivors in other locations." Tolk summoned a subordinate to provide the information. "Understood. Sending the coordinates now. However, I fail to see how you plan to evacuate 2 entire planets with just 4 ships. Even if you survive the invaders' onslaught, I doubt you have the capacity for so many survivors." Before Greville could respond, the signal distorted and cut off as another impact rocked the bunker. Captain Greville turned to his crew, issuing rapid orders. "Lieutenant Smith, re-establish communication with the General immediately, by any means necessary. Lieutenant Ellis, alert the West African Squadron. Will need every available vessel to rendezvous at these coordinates. Bosun, sound General Quarters and prepare the ship for Condition Z." A chorus of acknowledgements echoed through the bridge as the crew sprang into action. Meanwhile, back in the bunker, Tolk stumbled out of the briefing room, disoriented from the latest strike. Chaos engulfed the scene as wounded soldiers poured in, fleeing the collapsed western wing. Tolk grabbed a senior officer, trying to stay composed. "Lieutenant Commander, what's the situation?" The officer, injured and grim, replied, "Sir, the western wing has taken a direct hit. The hallway's cut off about 50 meters down. Casualties are significant." Tolk steadied himself, masking his dread. "Understood. Report to the medical wing and organize efforts to evacuate the wounded. My lower command staff will assist you. Time is critical." As the officer departed, Tolk fought to suppress the overwhelming grief and stress. He sat for a brief moment, grappling with the realization that contact with their last hope, the Terrans, might be lost. Bolting upright, he barked orders. "Commander Prolin, status on the communications array. Can we still transmit to the Terrans?" Prolin's fingers flew over his console. "Sir, we've lost signal from the wreck array. Its connection ran through the western corridor, which is now severed. However, I'm still receiving audio from their transmissions via some of our older simplex relays. Unfortunately, we can't send data back without rerouting to another transmitter." "Can the northern or southern relays be used to transmit?" Tolk demanded. Prolin studied his console. "The northern array is destroyed, but the southern relay has digital stations still operational. They can transmit, though their receivers are limited." Tolk straightened, his shoulders firm. "Good. Send them the survivor coordinates and update them on the situation. Prolin nodded sharply. Yes, sir. Meanwhile, aboard the Providence, Lieutenant Smith struggled to maintain hope as minutes ticked by without contact. Just as doubt consumed him, a notification appeared. Captain, we're receiving a digital signal from the Nandar. Greville strode over as Smith decrypted the message. West bunker wing hit. Mass casualties. Main array connection lost, sending coordinates in stable audio signal frequencies. Greville faced his officers with determination. Lieutenant Ellis, relay these coordinates to the cruisers and West African Squadron. Helm, prioritize autopilot to the highest concentration of survivors and the command bunker. As the data streamed in, Smith turned to Greville. Should I send a reply, sir? Yes, Greville affirmed. As alarms signaled the arrival of Terran reinforcements, Greville issued a final message to Tok's forces. Help is on the way. The message from the Terrans, though brief, sent a ripple of hope through the battered war room. Tok stood motionless for a moment, digesting the weight of those words. Help is on the way. Yet even as he clung to the flicker of hope, reality reminded him that survival was far from assured. The enemy's bombardment continued, the earth-shaking impacts relentless, and the cries of the wounded echoed through the fractured corridors. Commander Prolin, Tok called, his voice steady despite the chaos. What is the status of our remaining forces in Tulik? Do we have any units left capable of assisting with evacuation? Prolin, still at his station, glanced back over his shoulder. Sir, most units are pinned down, but we've identified 3 platoons near the southern ridge. They've been holding the line against light skirmishers, but they're running out of ammunition. Tok clenched his fists. Order them to pull back to the designated rally point. If the Terran ships land, I want them ready to assist with survivor transport. Prioritize securing the landing zone. Prolin nodded and began relaying the orders. Meanwhile, Tok turned to his remaining generals. Gather the command staff for an immediate tactical update. I want every sector's status and potential evacuation routes reviewed. Time is against us. The generals dispersed quickly, though their movements betrayed their exhaustion. Tok took a moment to steady himself at the central table, his mind racing. They had to buy time for the Terrans to land, time to get as many survivors off-world as possible. But with the enemy's superior technology and overwhelming numbers, how long could they hold? Minutes later, the command staff regrouped. Dust drifted from the ceiling as another tremor shook the bunker. A junior officer spread a holographic map across the table, marking areas of recent activity. General, we've identified several zones with high concentrations of survivors, she explained, pointing to glowing points on the map. Tulik's southern ridge is the largest, but we've also detected clusters near the eastern caverns and what's left of Sector Rokin's outskirts. Tok studied the map intently. And the enemy's movements? Unchanged, sir, she replied. They continue to hammer the cities and key installations. Ground forces are beginning to deploy in greater numbers, particularly near the eastern caverns. Tok nodded grimly. They're closing the noose. If we don't act now, those survivors will be overrun. Turning to his senior officers, he issued orders with firm resolve. Send what remains of our aerial drones to harass their ground forces near the caverns. It won't stop them, but it might slow their advance. Meanwhile, concentrate all mobile units at the southern ridge to fortify the landing zone. We must hold that position at all costs. As his officers hurried to comply, Prolin called out from the communications console. Sir, incoming transmission from the Terrans. It's patchy, but I can make it out. Put it through, Tok ordered. The screen flickered to life, and Captain Greville's face appeared, distorted but recognizable. General Tok, this is Captain Greville. We're entering the atmosphere now. Expect heavy interference as we descend. Our scans confirm the largest concentration of survivors near your southern ridge. ATF for landing 20 minutes. Understood, Captain Tok replied. We'll secure the area and prepare for your arrival. Be warned, the enemy has deployed ground forces. Expect resistance." "We're prepared," Greville responded, his voice resolute. "Hold the line, General. We'll get as many out as we can." The transmission cut out as interference consumed the signal. Tulk turned back to his staff. "You heard the captain. 20 minutes. We hold that ridge no matter what it takes." The command room sprang into action. Officers barked orders into headsets, troop movements were coordinated, and the remaining defenses were prepared. Tulk moved to the armory, equipping himself with a rifle and sidearm. He would not simply command from the bunker, he intended to fight alongside his soldiers, as any true leader would. The trek to the southern ridge was grueling. The air was thick with dust and smoke, the sky above scarred with trails of alien weaponry. When Tulk and his contingent arrived, they found the soldiers already entrenched, weary but determined. The sight of their general stepping into the trenches lifted their spirits, if only slightly. "Soldiers of Nandar," Tulk began, his voice carrying over the chaos. "Today we stand not just to defend our world, but to ensure our people's survival. The Terrans are coming to save us, but they need time we must give them. Hold this ridge. Hold it with everything you have. Let the enemy know that even in the face of annihilation, Nandar will not go quietly." A cheer erupted, ragged but heartfelt. The soldiers braced themselves as the distant rumble of alien ground vehicles grew louder. The battle for the southern ridge was about to begin, and with it, the fate of their species would be decided.